Mini skirt on, dip my body in glitter. Platform sneakers, all the boys want a picture. Two foreign cars, I make rich look richer. Save your breath, baby, I'm not going home with ya. Mini skirt on, dip my body
Hello. You are now tuned in to the A Little Bit A Lot podcast. I'm your host, Kristen. Welcome back. How are you guys doing this week? How was your Thanksgiving? If you do celebrate the holiday, how was it? I want to know. I'm curious. Oh my God. Like it was questionable, mainly because if you can't tell from the sound of my voice, I am sick. And I'm getting concerned. Like, should your girl go to urgent care or no? Like, I'm pretty sure I have an upper respiratory infection. Because I am just like so congested and like hacking up questionable stuff that I'm like, why was that even in my body? So if you're wondering why on YouTube this video is only audio, it's because I feel and look like crap right now. But I still wanted to make sure that I got an episode for you guys like once I started feeling a little bit better. So sorry if I sound, nasally, but I still wanted to give you guys a banger of an episode. Like, sick or not, like, work doesn't stop, period. But yeah, so my Thanksgiving was tainted a little bit because I was sick. And so me and my boyfriend were like, okay, well, since I'm sick and he had to work, we're like, why don't we just like make our own Thanksgiving food? So we did some like fried chicken wings, lemon pepper, of course. And I decided to tackle dressing for the first time this year, which, I don't know, like, I think it turned out okay for it to be like my very first time making dressing. Like, everybody knows, like, notoriously, like, dressing is just an intimidating thing to tackle. You know, like, normally, like, in my, like, families that I've interacted with, like, the grandma, you know what I'm saying? Like, the older person in the family is in charge of making that. So I was really intimidated, but my boy Smoking and Grilling with AB, if you guys know him on YouTube, shout out to him. He literally feels like an uncle to me because I love his recipes. And yeah, like, I followed his recipe for the dressing on YouTube, and I feel like it turned out pretty good. The only thing that I feel like I would do different the next time I make the dressing is to use a different cornbread, because I don't know what I was thinking. I use like my favorite cornbread, which is like the Krusteaz brand, the honey cornbread. So in turn, since I used that for my dressing, the cornbread was really sweet. But at the same time, I can't say that it was bad though, because like, even though it was my first time having a sweet dressing, I still felt like it was good. And then my boyfriend was in charge of doing the macaroni. So he ended up doing macaroni later in the day, and his turned out really good. The only thing we would do different next time is like have him season the roux a little bit better, because it was like a little bit bland. But I feel like for our first time, I think it was good. And we had some corn on the cob. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you saw my Instagram story, then you guys already know, for the real ones. But yeah, and I remember I was talking to my boyfriend's mom, and she was just like, yeah, like, you should have been resting. And I'm like, yeah, like, after I did that, I regretted it, because I should have just stayed the frickin' bed and just been okay with like not really having the traditional Thanksgiving dinner. But I wanted to be extra even through all the sickness and try. But yeah, overall, like, it was good. So I'm hoping that everybody else had a good Thanksgiving. Oh my God, I was so happy that I had time off, because the week before that, I had a 4-day weekend. I had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. And then the following week was Thanksgiving week. And then I ended up having that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. So even though I had like 2 4-day weekends back to back, I'm still exhausted because half of it was spent like being sick. So I definitely need to like schedule some more PTO soon. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, that was my Thanksgiving. Next year, I think I'm going to try to do a ham or something like that, because I just really want to try to tackle like doing stuff on my own. As much as I love like going over to families and getting food from them, I think it's just kind of like having that sense of independence where you get your own stuff and you're like, wow, I did that. Like, I ate that, literally. So, yes. And of course, I forgot to mention at the top of the episode, you guys know I'm going to come with it every week. Make sure you like this video and comment to let me know what you think about it, and subscribe on YouTube. You already know I'm on my road to my first 100 subscribers on there. I have 61 subscribers on YouTube right now. I can't believe I'm so close. Thank you guys so much. And on Spotify, make sure you give this video a... Oh my God. Sees the sickness coming through this video. Spotify's audio only. Make sure you follow the podcast on Spotify and give it a 5-star rating. I already have 19 5-star ratings on Spotify, so I'm super excited about that. Thank you. And of course, on Apple Podcasts, make sure you give that a 5-star rating and give me a review to let me know what you think about the episode. And speaking of reviews, I kind of wanted to take some time today to like go over more reviews that I got on the pod, because I am just so appreciative. Because I did a post on Instagram highlighting all of the reviews, but I wanted to talk about it on the pod. I mean, so funny and relatable. 5-star review from my girl Deja .mine.u on Instagram. She said that she absolutely loved everything about this podcast. I can't wait to watch the previous episodes. The thing that makes this podcast different from any other mental health podcast is the pure comedy. She is hilarious, and I felt like I knew her just by listening to one episode. So insightful, a must listen. Deja, you already know you're my girl. Thank you so much for that. Next one is a 5-star rating, and it says, one of my newest favorite podcasts. I giggle so much listening to this podcast. LOL. I love to get my morning started with an episode. It's the perfect balance of real life and having fun. Things that are so relatable. I love the Halloween episode. This is from Jalandria, my hairstylist. Jalandria, I freaking love you. You're the best. I just booked an appointment actually, so I will be seeing you soon. Gotta get those mini twists in. You know how the natural hair goes, guys. So thank you so much. She's always been so supportive of the pod so far, so I appreciate that. And then I've got another one from Sarah I. Fox, 5-star review, a breath of fresh air. After listening to the very first episode, Children of Divorce Are Automatically Baddies, I knew that Kristen was going to be such a great person to listen to. This podcast is not only entertaining, it's also a testament to how our stories can change people's lives. Thank you so much. Like, that is so nice. A lot of times people have been asking me, like, how do I feel about all the love I've received? And it's hard to even, like, I feel like a lot of times, like, people ask celebrities this and stuff, and I always feel like, oh my God, like, they give such mediocre answers. But you truly don't know until, like, you've been in this situation where people are giving you feedback on something that you're putting out there, and you're receiving, like, positive energy, where you don't know how it's going to feel until you're in that situation. And it's really overwhelming, but it's also like really heartwarming, and it just makes me feel like really, really good. And I think it's so validating because, I mentioned before, like growing up, a lot of family members would make me feel like it wasn't okay to be myself. And just even like in school, different people that I would be in school with, like, you just always feel like you have to be this shell of yourself to be approved by others. So going into this podcast, I decided that I wanted to be like 100% authentically myself, because I feel like authenticity is what's going to get you far. And I really want to like really, really connect with people, on a deep level. And I want people to really feel what I'm saying and to be able to like have a community. And I think so far doing that has been the best thing. So to know that people genuinely like me for me after starting this, it's like such a warm hug to my inner child to be like, girl, like, you are okay as you are. Like, everything about you is just fine. And there's so many people out there in the community that you've built that believe in you for being you. So just keep the reviews coming in, keep the comments and the likes coming in, guys, because I really appreciate it. And of course, leaving those reviews helps other people find the show. So that way we can build this community even greater and bigger. So I really just wanted to take some time to like talk about that really quick. So yes, I appreciate that. And the main topic of this week's episode, I feel like it's just like, it truly is the premise of my show, a little bit a lot, because I don't want every week to always feel so heavy and like always talking about mental health and stuff like that. Of course, I always want to have a little lighthearted moments on that too. And I think this episode is more like a life update because I did post a TikTok about my flat tire incident, and I said I was going to talk about it on the pod, so I decided to do that this week. So I'm going to go ahead into that story because last week's episode was kind of like more of a funny but silly but also serious, where I talked with Deja. If you guys have not checked that out yet, check that out. Last week's episode, it was really, really good. We really got into talking about like the fear of failure, embracing failure, what got her into like clinical mental health counseling. I really had a good time on that one. And then of course the episode before that was with my dad. So this week we're kind of gonna just, have just a little chit chat. Like this is more just of a regular episode with just me and you guys. So yeah, let's get right into it. Wait, let me take a break so I can freaking blow my nose. Sorry, hold on. Okay, I'm back and I'm better. Not Bryson Tiller. I saw Bryson Tiller was going on tour, and I'm like, I don't really know if I want to go. I feel like with Bryson Tiller, like you see him once, like you've already pretty much seen what you need to see. And I saw him like right after Trap Soul, the debut album release. So it's like that was prime time. Like there's nothing else to see after that. But anyway, so yeah, this week we're gonna get into the freaking gags, talking about. Let me adjust my microphone. Talking about my flat tire situation. It's not too crazy of a story, but I just thought it would be crazy, a moment to talk about on the pod. Like I said, so basically what happened was I was leaving my sister's house and it was around like 7:00 at night. It wasn't like too late because, I had to work the next day. I think it was, oh my God, my time perception is really bad. I can't remember if I have to work the next day or not. But anyways, so I left my sister's house and then I got on the expressway and I'm like literally just cruising along, minding my business. At this point, it starts getting dark at 5. So by 7, it was really dark outside. And especially where I was on the expressway, it was like really dark and my headlights are not the brightest. That's what I don't understand about like all of these other trucks. Like, is there a legal limit on how bright your headlights can be? Because I just feel like some of them are like way too blinding. And it's like, I really need to look into like how to get brighter headlights because I don't want them to be like too bright, but I need to see a little bit better on the road, guys. Like I couldn't see that well. Plus I didn't even have my freaking glasses on. So that was annoying. But yeah, so I'm minding my business on the expressway driving. And the next thing you know, all of a sudden I just feel like this big bump. And I'm like, well, no, the gag was I had saw something and then tried to swerve it, but at that point it was too late. Yeah. So then once I felt the big bump, I'm like, oh man, like whatever that was, I hit it. So it's kind of already too late. And then at that point, my car just felt like it was dragging something. And I'm like, maybe I ran over something and like my tire is just like has a hold of it and it's dragging it against the ground. That's what it felt like in the driver's seat. So I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then I'm trying to like pull over so that way I can pull over on the side of the expressway and inspect the scene. But my car is like literally acting like it doesn't want to like do what I'm telling it to do. So it was kind of hard to get control of the vehicle. And at that point I thought the end was near, guys. So that was pretty scary, but yeah, so then I pull over, I'm able to get control of the vehicle and I'm like, okay, maybe all I have to do is just like pull whatever I ran over like up underneath my car and just like toss it on the side of the road and then I can keep going, because I swear that's what it felt like. It felt like I was dragging something Guys, the gag is that feeling wasn't me dragging something, it was my rims dragging on the ground. So yeah, it turns out I hadn't ran over anything and like was dragging it. It was just that I ran over it and then both of my tires popped. So my left front tire and my left rear tire were both flat, like completely flat. So that was the feeling of me like riding like bare rim on the ground. And I'm like, dang, like I thought that I had like was dragging something, but really that was my car dragging itself. Like, are you serious? So I'm just like, oh my God. Like, this is so horrific. Like, of course. So after that, I'm just like, well, that's just freaking great. I now have 2 flat tires. And in the TikTok, I did mention that the gag was just like a month prior. I was leaving my mom's house to see my sister, and my left front tire like basically shredded to pieces. So I had already paid like $400 to get my 2 front tires replaced, and they told me that I was gonna have to get the 2 rear tires replaced soon. And I'm like, okay, but you know me, it's like I'll get to it, I guess, you know, when I have more money. But it wasn't really a priority. Like, I just knew I had to take care of it eventually. But I guess the universe was like, no, like, you're gonna take care of this now, because not only are we gonna force you to get the 2 rear tires replaced that you never got around to replacing, you also have to get the front one that you just replaced again. Like, what are the odds? What are the freaking odds? So I'm like, this is just great. I'm stuck on the expressway, and I look up and I see a bunch of other cars are also pulling over. One second. I gotta sip a drink. Okay, so yeah, I look over and I see a bunch of other cars are pulling over as well. So I'm trying my best to like describe this to you guys. So my 2 tires are flat. I look up, there are 3 vehicles to my left on the side of the expressway pulled over. And then on my right, I think there's like 2 vehicles in front of me. And then when I look in my rearview mirror, there's also another vehicle behind me that pulled over. So that's like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, including me, that all hit the same thing. So now we're stuck on the middle of expressway. Traffic is still zooming by. People are confused as to what's going on. And now I feel like it's kind of embarrassing because I'm the source of a traffic backup. Like, do you guys ever get on the expressway and sometimes you're like, oh my God, like, what is holding up traffic? And then you finally get to the source and the police is there and you're just like, what's going on? And you're like nosy and try to see what's going on. There is something that's like so humiliating about like being the source of the accident. I was like, oh my God, like, I know none of these people know me, but I hate this. Like, oh. So I'm like, I'm wondering what the heck did I hit? Like, whatever I hit had me kind of like jumping out of my seat too. And it popped both tires. So it must have been something serious. So now me and all the other people are stuck on the expressway, don't know what to do. And then after that, I had to call Progressive. I had to get a tow. And then there was this girl who was on the left side of the expressway. She must have been like, I think with her husband or something. And they had hit whatever it was too. So I see her. She goes to the person behind me and she's talking to them. And she's also got a boot on, guys. Like one of the boots that you wear like after you had just had foot surgery. And she's just like casually like stomping across the expressway. And then after she leaves talking to the person behind me, then she comes over to me and she's like, oh my gosh, did you hit that too? And I'm like, yeah, like, do you know what that was? And she was like, no, I don't know what it was, but should I go get it? And I don't know exactly if she's asking me or if she's asking whoever she's talking to on the phone. But I don't know how to answer that because I'm not going to go get it. And I don't really want to be the person to say that you should go get it. But I'm just like, oh, I don't know. So after that, she leaves. She goes back to her car. And then after a little while, I see her get back out of her car. And then she weaves through traffic and goes to get whatever it is that we hit. And I'm like, oh my God, like, couldn't be me. You know, I'm not going to go through in the middle of this dark expressway and try to find whatever it was. But, you know, I'm kind of glad she did. So at least I could see what it was. Tell me why she retrieves the item and then I see her dragging it across the expressway back to her car. And it's like a metal pole that's basically almost as tall as her. I think I recorded a video of it, but like zooming in, it's kind of like grainy. But when I looked it up and I Googled it, I think it was like somebody's muffler from their car. And I'm like, okay, so does somebody's muffler just fall out? I don't know anything about cars, guys. So if you do, I'm sorry. Like, is that possible where a muffler can kind of just fall out in the middle of the expressway like that? I don't know. According to my Google search, I think that's what it was, but I'm not 100% sure. But I do know that it was a metal object. And yeah, so I guess she grabbed it so that way whoever comes to the rescue can see. And I wait a little while, and of course I call my dad, I call my boyfriend, and my boyfriend's like, okay, I'm on my way, because the last time this happened, he had to come to my aid and wait with me until Progressive tow truck came then. So of course, you know, my boyfriend's like, all right, well, here we go again. I gotta go get Kristen. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And as I'm waiting for him to come, all of a sudden I see the police. So the police come on the scene, they're dodging through the traffic, and then they try to like organize traffic through the expressway with all of us pulled over and stuff. And he tries to, you know, assess what's going on. And then the police officer comes up to me and he pulls behind me. And after like talking to the person behind me, and then as he gets out of his car, he walks by foot, and then he pulls up to my passenger window. So I roll the window down, and at this time I'm also talking on the phone with my dad, because hello, like, young black girl stuck on the middle of the expressway, like, I don't know, I just need to talk to somebody, so, you know, somebody else knows what's going on. I'm not feeling alone. And the way the police officer walked up to the car, I don't know, I just feel like, especially, you know, given like the current social situations with my race and the police, it already kind of is tense whenever I'm around them, like, naturally. So I always have my guard up as it is, because, you know, don't want to get brutality'd. So I was kind of like, I don't know. But the way he walked up, I just felt like was kind of like, instead of being concerned, his energy at first was kind of like off. Like, he pulled up and he had a flashlight. And then as he's like, you know, walking up to my window, he's like, hello. And he kind of looks serious, and he's like waving the flashlight all around and like checking on the inside of my car. This is before he even asks me, like, am I okay? So I'm just like, okay, I don't have anything in the vehicle, you know, it's just me here. But he's like very concerned about looking all around in the car and stuff. And then he asks me, are you okay? And did you hit anybody? And I'm like, no, I didn't hit anybody. I just ran over whatever everybody else ran over. And he was like, yeah, well, unfortunately, you know, because it was just debris, we can't file this as like a traffic accident or something like that. But he was like, but do you need a ride? Like, do you already have a tow truck coming or something? And I'm like, yeah, I already called a tow, so I'm waiting for them to get here. And I also called my boyfriend. and I'm waiting for my boyfriend to get here as well. And he was like, "Oh, I don't know if your boyfriend should come because the way that traffic is so backed up, the tow truck might get here before he even gets here. So do you already have a destination in mind to where you want to tow your vehicle?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I want to take it to the discount tire by my house." And he was like, "Well, I think you should have your boyfriend meet you there and then have the tow truck, take you to meet him there." And so I'm like, "Okay." And the idea of that made me feel a little bit uncomfortable because I never love the idea of having to be alone with the tow truck driver because that's just awkward. Like, social anxiety things. Like, I don't even want to have to be in a situation to have to do that. So I'm just like, oh my God. So I'm on the phone with my dad and I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I let the police officer know, like, "Yeah, I'm on the phone with my dad." And I told my dad, like, that sounds okay, right? And he was like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, that sounds good. I'll just do that." And the police officer's like, "Okay, well, don't go anywhere. I got to make sure that I check on everybody else, but I just wanted to make sure that, like, you were all settled." And I'm like, "Okay, thanks. Bye." So yeah. And then after the police officer, finished doing what he had to do, then it was just a waiting game. I had to wait for the tow truck to come. And then after that, the tow truck guy came and he like passed my car and then went ahead to the car in front of me. And I'm like, "I think that's my tow truck, but I'm not 100% sure." And then he calls me and he's like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "I think you just passed me." Tell me why he's like, "Oh, well, since I'm ahead of you, do you think you could like move forward a little bit?" What the freak? No. Like, I have two extremely flat tires. It's giving straight rim. And you want me to try to put this car and drive and just scrape metal to concrete down the expressway to inch forward to you? Like, it's a chop. I'm not doing that. Like, either you need to get off the expressway, go all the way around and get back on, or I don't know, but I'm not doing that. So that already kind of like raised my anxiety a bit because I'm just like, what tow truck driver did they send me? Like, why would you think that I would want to do that? Why would you think that I would want to risk that and put the car and drive to get to you? Like, you're supposed to be coming to my aid and coming to help me. Are you serious right now? So that was like an extreme chop. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So he's like, "Okay." And in the end, he ends up like, with the aid of the police, ends up like putting it in reverse and then just reversing all the way to me. And he figures it out. And then after that, he's like, "Okay, you can go ahead and just get in the passenger seat and I'll load up your vehicle." So he loads up my vehicle and it's really awkward in there. My foot is stepping on something on the floor, but I don't know what it is. I hate being in a car and then like people have something on the floor and they're like, "Oh, just step on it." No, like I don't want to do that. So that was awkward. And then as he's loading the car, of course, the tow truck is just like bouncing all around. So I'm just up in there like about to get whiplash because it's just a lot going on. Like, he's literally loading my several 100-pound freaking car up on the car that I'm sitting in. So it was bumpy. And the whole time I'm still on the phone with my dad. And then finally, once he's done loading the vehicle, he gets in the car and then he tries to turn his turning signal on so that way he can merge onto the expressway and then we can like go to the discount tire. But then I guess the person that was next to us, like, nobody was letting him merge. So then he got really mad. He starts like cursing and he's like, "What the F?" You guys know I don't really curse like that. He's like, "You don't see me effing trying to get over?" So I'm just like, okay. Like, I don't feel safe right now. Like, I'm already very uncomfortable because of the fact that I have to ride to the store with this stranger. I just don't like stuff like that. And I would have much rather, drove there with my boyfriend. So I already was just feeling uncomfortable. And then the fact that he got in the car and just started like yelling and cursing. And I'm just like, what is going on? And I'm looking at my dad and he's just kind of like, okay. And then the tow truck driver looks over and he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, I forgot that you were even in the car. What? And then he just starts kind of laughing and he's just like, no, that's so awkward. Like, I apologize. I normally don't try to act that way. When I have customers in the car, yada, yada. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's fine. Like, I don't know. Like, please just get me out of here, guys. Like, I just wanted to disappear. Like, why me? Like, the whole time I'm in this situation, I'm just thinking, like, why me, bro? Like, of course this happens to me. Like, get me out of here, please. Like, I swear there's times where I just wish I was like from Wizards of Waverly Place and I could just zap myself to like a different location. Like, are you serious right now? And the discount tire was like, I don't know, 17 minutes away. That was the longest 17-minute car ride of my entire life. Like, it was bumpy. Every single little crack in the street, I feel like, had us jumping up in there. It was so noisy. It was so loud. It was just so overstimulating. My dad, like, every single mile we get to, he's like, where you at? And I'm like, oh, we're on so-and-so and so-and-so. Because he's, like, concerned and wants to make sure that I get to where I need to get to safely. My boyfriend's got my location on, so he can follow me. He's tracking me to make sure that I'm okay. And, yeah, we finally get to the discount tire. He unloads the car. We leave it there overnight. I also felt uncomfortable because that discount tire, I guess all discount tires don't have a lockbox. So that already had my anxiety like even more on 10 because I'm like, I have to leave my car unlocked. So I have to like basically put the keys in the driver's seat and leave it unlocked because for some reason they don't have a lockbox for you to put your keys in. That's strange. Like, what? But then Juwan's like, who's gonna want to steal your car? Like, you literally have 2 flat tires. And I'm like, yeah, but still, like, even though I don't keep anything in my car of importance ever, it still just like made me anxious in general. Like, everything about it. I was just on edge about every single part of this process of the night. And I have to applaud myself too, because I basically stayed like so calm. I mean, to the point where I was even able to film that content. Like, you saw the TikTok. Like, I'm just able to keep it together and just be like, yeah, I'm having the worst day of my entire life. It's just like try to make a joke out of it because that's all I could do to like keep myself from crying, because I just had a whole situation where I got stuck on the expressway a month ago. So of course I'm triggered. Like, I don't want this to become a thing where now I'm all of a sudden like fearful of driving on the expressway or don't want to drive at night. So now I know like that's going to be more that I'm going to have to like work through, with myself to make sure that that doesn't become a thing, which it's been like a couple weeks since then and I'm fine now. Like, I have driven on the expressway in at night since then, but oh my God, it was like really, really hard for the first like couple days getting adjusted back into being in the car again. But yeah, and then I called them in the morning and I let them know, hey, that's my car out there. And they were like, okay. She told me that it was going to be like $300. Turns out it was like $4. I think it was like $4 or $5. Because in the end, I ended up having to get 3 new tires. So yeah, and all of this is like really freaking annoying on top of that because I work from home. So since I've gotten this car, I've worked from home because I got this car after I had already started not going in the office. So I don't even have that many miles on it. And to have to keep going through this with the car that I only drive to go see my sister and my mom in and like go to the store, it's so annoying. Like, you think this would happen to like somebody who's just like always in the whip, like always on the go. But it's like, I'll drive my car like maybe once or twice a week. Like, what the heck? So then it's like, it makes you kind of trigger because then you're just like, okay, I barely drive this car as it is. And then when I do drive it, it's something traumatic always happening, But at the end of the day, like, after working through it, Of course, I don't want to sound like too bratty. Like, it is kind of giving first world problems because I do have like the financial means to get it taken care of by myself with no help. Big purr. Okay. Like, that has me gagged because back when I was working in fast food, I would have never imagined that I would like go to college, get a degree, and like have a, decent paying job to where I don't need help anymore to, take care of these like big expenses, these unexpected expenses. So for that, like, I'm really grateful. So I think that's also like the thing that kind of keeps me from going like completely insane, because back then I used to be in these situations, and then on top of that, I didn't have the money to get it paid for, and taken care of without like my parents and my grandparents' help. But now it's like nobody even really has to know about it because, like, in the blink of an eye, I can just immediately take care of it myself. And the last time my boyfriend paid for them. So technically, this is my first time having to pay for the tires because the last ones he got for me. So shout out to my boo. But yeah, so that was the story of me running over that metal pole on the freaking expressway. Skip that, man. Like, people who leave their debris like that are just losers, man. Like, when that fell off your car, you didn't think to be like, ooh, and like stop and go. I just don't know. Like, then again, what would I do? Would I have just kept going? Probably. If that was like something that fell out of my car, I wouldn't know what to do. So I probably would have just kept going and let somebody else, worry about it. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to like take a strong stance on it. But yeah, that really freaking sucked. I hope I never have to ride in a tow truck with a stranger ever again. But at least I got it out the way. So if I do have to, like, I'm going to be more mentally prepared on like what to expect. Hopefully the next tow truck driver isn't, insane and yelling and has road rage and makes me feel unsafe. Preferably send me someone who's gentle and kind, not a hothead. Because what was that? Like, let me know in a review or on the comments on YouTube. Would you have been concerned? Would you have felt safe with the driver if that driver was your driver? Seriously. But yeah, so that brings us to our segment, favorite thing of the week. Favorite thing of the week. Favorite thing of the week. This week's favorite thing is WWE Sunday Stunner. If you follow me on Instagram at A Little Bit A Lot Podcast or TikTok at A Little Bit A Lot Podcast, then you'll see that at WWE Sunday Stunner in Saginaw, this past week, me and my boyfriend went for our 11-year anniversary. Yes, this was my date night preference. I chose to want to go here for our date night for our anniversary because I've said it before and I'll say it again. I love the WWE. My favorite wrestlers are Bianca Belair, the EST, the WWE. I love Roman Reigns. I love Jay and Jimmy Uso. I'm all about the bloodline because they're freaking cute. So yeah, I was really excited to go to Sunday Stunner. And for those who don't watch wrestling, because I don't know if like a majority of my audience are like into that, but traditionally with like WWE, they have Monday Night Raw and then they have Friday Night SmackDown. Those are televised events. Every Monday and every Friday, WWE is going to be on TV in a different, state or different city. But with Sunday Stunner, it's a house show technically. So you're basically going to get what you get on Monday or Friday on TV, but it's just not on TV. And it's more personalized. And I felt like since I'd already been to Friday Night SmackDown earlier this year in Detroit at the Little Caesars Arena, I wanted to go to a house show because I wanted to see what it was like not televised. Because I felt like it had the opportunity to be more of like a personal show. And I was right. When we went, instead of like the superstars having to like immediately leave so they can like bring out the next superstar, since it's all being televised and everything kind of has to go quickly, with Sunday Stunner, it felt like more slow paced. People took their time coming out, and then the superstars took their time leaving. So they were able to like really like engage with the crowd, talk to people, take pictures, sign autographs, all that type of stuff. And then on top of that, My boyfriend Juwan got us 4th row tickets. So we were on the 4th row on the floor, 4 rows away from the ring. So that was freaking gaggy. I was super excited to be able to see everybody up close. That was my first time having floor seats for a WWE event. So I really, really loved it. And they had this thing where they were like, if you do hashtags WWE Saginaw, then you get to be featured on the big screen. So I did hashtag WWE Saginaw, and wouldn't you know, the A Little Bit A Lot podcast made the big screen at WWE Sunday Stunner. And like I said, I know it's not a televised event, but just the fact that like the pod was up on that screen for all those like hundreds and like probably couple of thousand people to see, like that selfie of me and Juwan smiling and being like, can't wait for the show, was super cool. Because I'm like, what if somebody like saw that and was like, A Little Bit of Lot podcast, and then like wanted to check out the podcast like in the arena? I don't know, but either way, it was like a cool little exposure moment, and I was just like super gagged to like see the podcast up on the big screen, and they showed it like multiple times throughout the night, so I was like up there, and I just like could not stop smiling because I was just so happy, and it was super exciting. So yeah, that's definitely my favorite thing of the week. Going to that event, having a blast with my boyfriend, and I'm pretty sure that's where I got sick. I'm pretty sure that's where I got sick, because we went Sunday, and then as we were like there, my throat was kind of hurting from like screaming and yelling and stuff. And then Monday came, and like Monday night going into Tuesday morning, last Monday night going into Tuesday morning, I felt kind of sickly, and I'm like, ooh, I think I'm getting a cold. And then Tuesday morning, it like really solidified it. And then from then, I've been sick. So yeah, I feel about like 30% better. But I truly thought that I was gonna have to go to like the ER. Like, I thought the end was near. I literally felt like I was in a prison within my own body. So yeah, send some positive energy to your girl. Like, I swear to God, if I don't feel better by Friday, I might seriously go to urgent care, because then that'll be like a couple days away from 2 weeks of being sick. And I say Friday because Saturday I'm going to go see the Renaissance film. Oh my God, guys. Next week's episode, I need to talk about my Renaissance film experience. So if you guys are going to see the movie, like, send me a DM or something and let me know like what you thought about it, because I'm going to go see it as well. So I'm hoping that I can get like the Renaissance popcorn bucket and the cup, you know what I'm saying, and turn up. Like, you guys know that I did go see Beyonce, the Renaissance tour, in July at the Ford Field, and that was super, super gaggy, but I cannot wait to see the film. Oh my God. Like, I am literally jumping like off the walls right now, like bouncing off the walls in excitement. I can't wait for this. I just feel like this movie is going to be so iconic. It's probably going to feel like it's going to change my life just because of how good the Netflix special was. So I just don't know. But like I mentioned before, I just really hope that she really gives us more like in depth into, the behind the scenes, and we get to learn more about, like her thoughts behind the creativity that went into the tour. So that's super exciting. So yeah, let me know if you guys are gonna go see it as well, and then next week I will try to remember to talk about my thoughts on it. So that's like a pre-spoiler warning that whenever episode I talk about the film, you guys need to make sure that you know what's going on, because I'm definitely going to talk about it. But yeah, so I can't wait for that. I'll probably post about it on Instagram, of course, this weekend. I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm going with my sister. So yes, like I said at the top of the episode, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. I'm on the road to my first 100 subscribers. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure you like and give me that 5-star rating. And of course, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure you give me that 5-star rating and a review to let me know what you thought about this episode. I really had fun chatting with you guys. Let me know what you thought about the flat tire story. Like, oh my God, it was traumatic, but I'm glad I got through it. So yes, and sorry about, my nasally tone with me being sick, but like I said, I think it was probably because of the WWE. So at that point, it's worth it, right? All right, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Cause I make rich look richer. Save your breath, baby, I'm not going home with ya.